So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to create an alter ego, a science-backed mindset transformation technique that elite athletes and performers and top executives use to silence self-doubt and show up at their best when the pressure is on. Have you ever noticed that some of the most successful people in the world seem to have a switch that they flip when it's time to perform? Beyoncé becomes Sasha Fierce, Eminem becomes Slim Shady, and Kobe Bryant became the Black Mamba. David Bowie became Ziggy Stardust. These aren't just stage names or gimmicks, they're a psychological tool, and it's one you can use too. This concept has a name, the alter ego effect, and the definitive book on the subject is by performance coach Todd Herman, called The Alter Ego Effect, The Power of Secret Identities to Transform Your Life. Herman spent over 20 years coaching Olympic athletes, elite entrepreneurs, and Fortune 500 executives, and he found the same pattern again and again. The people who performed best under pressure weren't relying on raw willpower. They were stepping into a version of themselves built specifically for the moment that demanded it. Let's walk through the key lessons from this idea, how you can use it to manage your emotions and build the mindset to hit your goals, and 3 concrete actions you can take starting today. So, lesson 1, you are not one fixed self. We tend to think of ourselves as a single fixed identity. I'm shy, I am bad with money, I'm not a confident public speaker. But Todd Herman's core argument is that identity is far more fluid than we assume. We already shift between different versions of ourselves depending on context. You're a different version of you at a job interview than you are having dinner with closer friends. The alter ego technique simply takes this natural human ability and makes it intentional. This matters because when we treat our limitations as permanent personality traits, we stop trying to change them. But when we recognize that our current behavior is just one version of ourselves, often shaped by fear, self-doubt, or old habits, we open the door to consciously building a better performing version for the situations that matter most. Now, lesson 2, the enemy is what holds you back. Herman talks about something he calls the enemy, the internal voice of self-doubt, perfectionism, fear of judgment, or impulsiveness that shows up right when you need to be at your best. This enemy doesn't just affect your career or your confidence, it affects how you spend money, how you negotiate, how you show up in high-stakes conversations, and how you handle stress. The alter ego isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about consciously designing a response to that enemy. A version of you that has the traits, discipline, and emotional control the moment requires. So the fear-driven version doesn't get to drive the car. There's also real psychology backing this up. A well-known study by researcher Rachel White found that children persisted longer on a boring task when they pretended to be a competent character like Batman than when they approached the task as themselves. Interesting, right? Psychologists call this self-distancing, stepping outside your immediate emotional state and viewing yourself from a slight distance measurably improves discipline, focus, and performance. The alter ego is essentially a structured way to create that distance on demand. Now, lesson 3, alter egos aren't just for performers. It's easy to assume it only applies to musicians or athletes, but the technique has been used far beyond the stage. Serena Williams has talked about tapping into a fiercer, more dominant version of herself during matches. Even outside of sports and entertainment, entrepreneurs and executives use this, building a version of themselves for negotiations, public speaking, or high-pressure decision-making that is calmer, more assertive, and less reactive than their everyday self. The common thread isn't fame, It's that all of these people identified a gap between who they are in a stressful moment and who they need to be, and then deliberately built a bridge between the two. Now, let's talk about the 3 actions you can take. Action 1, name the moments that you trip you up. Before you build an alter ego, you need clarity on where you actually need one. Ask yourself, where do I consistently underperform relative to my potential? Is it public speaking, sales calls, sticking to a budget, standing up for yourself in negotiations? Write down 2 or 3 specific situations where fear, hesitation, or old habits get in the way of your goals. This is the field of play. Herman refers to the exact arena where your alter ego needs to show up. Action 2. Build the traits, not just the name. A lot of people stop at picking a cool nickname, but that's not what makes this work. The real exercise is deciding specifically what traits your ideal self would embody in that moment. If your struggle is confidence in meetings, what does confident, composed you actually sound like, stand like? And say, Herman recommends drawing inspiration from real people, fictional characters, or even animals that embody the traits you're missing. Not to become someone fake, but to give your brain a clear, vivid target to step into. Some people give this version of themselves a name. Others just call it the version of me that shows up on game day. Either works. What matters is specificity. Hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying this video so far. Now let's look at action 3. Create a trigger to activate it. An alter ego is only useful if you can call on it in the moment you need it. Not after the fact when you're reflecting on what you should have done. Athletes use a specific song, a piece of clothing, or a physical action like tightening a wristband to signal the shift. You can do the same. It might be as simple as a deep breath and a phrase you say to yourself before walking into a difficult conversation, or changing your posture before you speak. The goal is to build a consistent, repeatable cue that tells your brain, this is the moment, step into the stronger version of yourself. Now here's where this connects to something a lot of people overlook, and that's money. Herman makes a point in the book that your financial decisions are just as emotionally driven as your performance in any other high-pressure situation. The same enemy that causes stage fright or social anxiety is often the exact same voice behind impulsive spending, avoidance of looking at your bank account, fear-based investment decisions, or underpricing yourself in business. So if that sounds familiar to yourself, you're not alone. If you're mindful of one thing from this book, when it comes to personal and business finances, let it be this. Your money behavior is not a fixed personality trait either. Overspending, avoidance, or fear around financial decisions is often just the background version of you showing up in a moment that requires a calmer, more disciplined identity. The same technique that builds confidence on stage can build financial discipline, a version of you that pauses before a purchase, that looks at the numbers without panic, that negotiates business deals without underselling out of fear. Practically, this might mean creating rules in advance for your financial alter ego, a waiting period before non-essential purchases, a specific mindset you step into before reviewing your business numbers, or a version of yourself you consciously activate before a negotiation. So, fear or impulsiveness isn't making the decision for you to bring it all together. The alter ego effect isn't about becoming fake or disconnected from who you are. It's about recognizing that you already contain multiple versions of yourself, and instead of letting fear or old habits pick which ones show up in your biggest moments, you get to choose deliberately, identifying the situations where you need it most. Define exactly who the stronger version of you is, build a trigger to call them forward, And don't forget, this applies just as much to your finances as it does to your career or your business or your confidence. The people who master this, from Beyoncé to Kobe Bryant to countless entrepreneurs you'll never see on their stage, aren't superhuman. They just learn to stop waiting to feel ready and instead build the identity that could show up ready on command. As always, remember to design your profits first and your spend second. Hit the subscribe button if you did enjoy this video.